Okay, so this is a demo on how to set up Lab 5, which is on the streak plate technique, which, remember, the purpose of this is to try to have dilution or separation of bacteria so that you can get a pure culture or get to the point where you can see individual colonies. So to set up this lab, you're going to use 2 regular nutrient agar plates like we've been using all through the semester. And you're also going to use a liquid culture of bacteria called Mix 5. So make sure you have the correct culture to be able to inoculate these plates. And Mix 5 is a mixture of 2 bacteria, E. coli and Serratia marcescens. So to the naked eye, E. coli produces tan colonies, whereas Serratia produces red colonies. And so your eye can tell them apart simply by seeing the different color colonies. So you're gonna set up 2 plates with this culture. So the first thing I want you to do is on the lid only, okay? So don't write on the bottom of the plate. On the lid, you wanna label 1 plate bad and 1 plate good. And then also put your name or some type of identifier so you can tell which plate is yours. Okay, so there's my bad plate, there's my good plate, and remember, do not write on the bottom, write on the lid. So the first plate I'm gonna inoculate is the bad plate. That's where you're gonna do the technique incorrectly on purpose, and it goes a lot faster. So I'm gonna do that first. Okay, so you have your bacterial incinerator. So the first thing you're gonna do is heat up your inoculating loop so it's nice and hot. And what you're doing is reducing the concentration of bacteria on that loop to 0. Okay, take the loop out, let it cool. And what I usually do is press it to the inside of the glass on the tube. Okay, and then what I want to do is take the cooled loop and put it into the bacterial mixture until I get 1 loop full of bacteria. And it should look like, you know, those things where you go to blow a bubble, like the little kids' toys. You should be able to see that the loop is actually full of the bacterial liquid culture. Okay, so then to inoculate the bad plate, we're gonna take that loop and we're going to streak across the plate. You know, for me, I usually do it about 5 or 6 times, and you wanna press hard enough so that you can see the actual streak lines on the plate. Since we're doing this incorrectly, we're then going to just turn it a quarter turn and then go back and hit the previous streaks a few times, okay? And then have your second streak, turn it again, go back, hit only the previous streaks, turn it one more time, and finally go back and only hit the previous streak that you just did. Okay, so that one goes pretty fast. Okay, so that is your bad plate. That's the one that you were doing incorrectly on purpose. Okay, now we're gonna do it the proper way. So here we have our plate that's labeled good. Okay, so once again, I'm gonna heat up my loop, and this is gonna take a little longer because we are going to incinerate the loop in between each of the streaks, and that's what gives us our dilution effect. Okay, so heat up your loop, let it cool. Press it to the inside of the glass so it's nice and cool. And then you will go in and once again get 1 loop full of bacteria. And then do your first streaking. So streak, you know, back and forth about 5 or 6 times. Okay. Then put the lid back on the plate, rotate it a quarter turn, and now you are going to incinerate your loop again. So you want to bring the bacterial concentration on the loop back down to 0 in between each streaking. So take your loop out, let it cool, and now you're ready to streak the second time. So you want to go back, hit your first streaking a couple of times, and then streak to dilute. So what I usually do to make sure the loop is cool is I press it to a part of the auger where nothing is. Okay, now I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna hit that first streak a couple times and then continue with some streaks on its own, rotate a quarter turn, put the lid back on, incinerate my loop again to bring the bacterial concentration down to 0. Once again, press it to a part of the auger where nothing's there so you can cool the loop. Now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna hit streak number 2 a couple of times and then dilute. Once again, turn it a quarter turn one more time. Incinerate your loop again. Let it cool. And then finally for your last streak, you want to go back and you just want to hit streak number 3 a few times. And so that's what your streak plate should look like, doing it the proper way. Okay, so the key is you are incinerating your loop in between each streaking, and then you only want to hit the previous streak. Okay, one thing I want to mention too is remember, you only go into the Mix 5 tube one time, okay, so that you can do your first streaking. And then you do everything else from the cultures that are already on the plate. If you keep going back into this tube, you're completely defeating the purpose of the lab. Okay, so at the end, you're gonna end up with 2 plates, one good, one bad, and then you're gonna put them in the tray, incubate them with the auger side up, and you're done.